Verstappen has been under fire for his actions against teammate Perez since the Brazilian Grand Prix. While many were quick to jump on the critique, saying that Verstappen is everything but a good teammate and a decent human being, there is one side of the story that's being neglected in this whole situation, and that's Verstappen's side. Although his reasons are a little controversial and difficult to understand in light of everything Perez has done for him, could Verstappen have been justified in doing what he did in Brazil? Let's analyze this whole situation from a neutral point of view and see how things really stand. The Brazilian GP never fails to deliver, and the 2022 version of it saw some interesting outcomes. Mercedes, for example, avoided the first winless season since 2011, and they have managed to cut Ferrari's Constructors' Championship lead to just 19 points. Alpine have probably sealed the P4 spot in the Constructors' Championship too, as they also have a 19-point lead ahead of McLaren. Magnussen secured the first pole position of his career and managed to grab one valuable point for Haas in the championship. But none of these outcomes is as interesting and intriguing as Verstappen's defiance of orders and his refusal to pass Perez after he was clearly instructed to do so. During the second safety car restart, Perez was in P3, but it was evident that he wouldn't keep this place for long due to the fact that both Ferraris were running on soft tires behind him. On top of that, Perez lost the spot to Alonso too, and when it became evident that the Mexican could not fight Leclerc for points, the team order for Verstappen to pass Perez and chase Leclerc ahead in order to cut down some valuable points off the Monegasque was given. But apart from this, Verstappen was instructed to give the place back to Perez if he failed to accomplish his mission, which was the right thing to do. After what Perez has done for Verstappen throughout the previous 2 seasons, sacrificing the P6 spot, which was given to you by team orders, and then giving it back to your teammate who you originally took it from, isn't too much to ask for, right? Well, according to Verstappen, it is a lot to ask for. Verstappen was repeatedly told by his engineer Lambiase to give the position back to Perez, but he didn't respond. And when the race ended and Lambiase asked him, "What happened, Max?" his response said it all. "I told you already last summer, guys, don't ask that again to me, okay? Are we clear about that? I gave my reasons, and I stand by it." Before we go into Verstappen's reasons for doing it, as well as his promise for the next Grand Prix, let's see what the public's opinion of him is as of now. There have been many derogatory comments online, and if you are judging by the outcome of the situation, these comments all make sense. Imagine that you have a teammate that is shedding 8 seconds off the main competitor for the title in Abu Dhabi, just so that you can catch up to him and fight for the title. Imagine having a teammate battle your fiercest competitor in Turkey's wet weather as he goes off track and then returns to save his position, just so Hamilton doesn't score more points in the championship fight. The ultimate team player, right? This is why the social media comments made towards Max were fierce ones, as many people said that they weren't going to support the Dutchman anymore after what he's done to Perez. Who does Max Verstappen think he is? So entitled, acts like a petulant child. Can't understand why Checo would want to help him again going forward. Max surely owes him for the amount of times Perez has driven, purely to benefit his title challenges the last 2 seasons. Pathetic from Verstappen at the end. Checo has obeyed team orders on so many occasions with no resistance. He can't even do it once, showing his ugly side once again. Perez has been nothing except a team player, a good old pal for Verstappen. This is clearly not intelligent to behave like that. You need an entire team to win races and championships. But Max isn't doing anything without a proper purpose, and although his purpose is hard to understand and accept after everything that Perez has done for him, could the Dutchman be in the right for doing what he did? According to Ziggo Sport, Verstappen had all the right to keep the position that was given to him by Perez due to the fact that he had alerted Red Bull earlier this season that he wouldn't give back a position if that was required of him. Therefore, it's the team's fault for hoping on something that they knew wouldn't work. And when we see things like this, Verstappen would have likely passed Perez anyways with 4 laps remaining and taken the extra 2 points away from him in the championship. Robert Dornbos, Jack Pluij, and Olaf Mol spoke about Verstappen's decision in Race Café, adding, "He clearly said, 'You shouldn't ask me that,' in the conversation they had earlier then. That's just in the nature of the beast. Then you can say Perez helped him in Abu Dhabi, Minister of Defense. That is a second driver doing his job, and this is just the team leader," said Robert. Olaf Mol continued the conversation, adding, "They asked him something they already knew the answer to. Then you go and ask it again, and you get publicly, 'I am not doing that.'" Pluij was the final journalist to give his support to Verstappen in the conversation, adding, "If this is true, it is also very mean of them. They know he doesn't do it, and then they go and ask it anyway. Maybe they didn't agree beforehand. This is what we are going to do because the team asks it after all. If they did agree and they ask it again, then Max is right. I don't know if that is the case." What is even more controversial is the fact that Verstappen revealed he doesn't need to help Perez prior to the Mexican GP, and that Perez is capable of driving himself to victory. It could be a factor of self-confidence, with Verstappen not allowing anyone to pass him at the finish line, according to Pluij. Perhaps he shouted, "I would never in my life let anyone pass me at the finish line." You know that Verstappen's actions are truly worth considering justified when Sky F1 gives him a supportive hand. According to Kravitz, who has been very criticized lately for his statements on the 2021 season finale, Verstappen was in the right for his actions in Brazil. You could make a lot out of it. Max was asked to do something but said no. Max makes a good point, I suppose, saying, "Perez and Leclerc are level on points, and I'll help in Abu Dhabi if you want me to." Max is not interested. He's interested in the World Championship, which he's already done. It would be nice for Perez to be second, but it doesn't really matter. Who's going to remember that in the history books? It's a nice thing for Red Bull Racing, but knowing Max, he thinks, "Sergio finished second? I doubt he cares. But does it really matter? We've won the championship. Job done." Now, from a neutral point of view, the actions of Verstappen do not deserve any justification. What has been done cannot be undone, and it's for sure going to leave a huge black mark on his reputation and career as a racing driver. However, when a two-time world champion says that he is not going to do something, you just don't go ahead and ask him to do that same thing, hoping that some instincts will kick in or he'll feel pity for the second driver in the team. It wouldn't have cost Verstappen anything to lose 2 points between P7 and P6, which is why the Dutchman has received such a strong backlash. However, world champions have their own egos and personalities, and hoping that they will be broken simply because someone needs to benefit from their performance makes no sense. That is why, while some online comments have been supportive of Verstappen, others have stated that if Perez wants to win the P2 spot in the Drivers' Championship, he must drive like a P2 driver in the Drivers' Championship. It's a well-known fact that ever since Monaco, Perez's consistency and competitiveness have been nowhere to be found. Many have related this to the upgrades to the car, as Red Bull has reportedly built it to be more oriented towards Verstappen. Whatever the reason, it was clear that Perez is much slower than Verstappen, and the fact that Verstappen was able to pull over a 2-second advantage over Perez in the span of 4 laps only goes to show that Perez needs to improve his game and become a better driver himself if he wants to claim the P2 spot in the Drivers' Championship. Abu Dhabi is the race where Verstappen will have a chance of redeeming himself, although the maximum he could do is bleach out the dark spot that he left for himself in Brazil. What do you think of Verstappen's actions? Let us know in the comments below.